warmer, supposed to be in the 70s next week. Means that I will, like I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be in the air conditioning business this time of year. And boy, I haven't been much. Had a couple of 80-degree days a week or so ago, but God, snow in May. Good news is it's getting better, so that's a good thing. If you haven't listened to this show before, the name of the show is the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. That's me, and we talk on this show about things around your house. I know a lot of do-it-yourselfers listen to the show because they know that I'm more than glad to give out tips and advice and help you with your around the house do-it-yourself projects. Of course, I've been in this business for many, many years. I'm in a business that was started by my father the same year that I was born, which is 1949, which is a long time ago. Anyway, learned a lot of things over those years, and if you're a do-it-yourselfer looking for some tips on how to make your project go more smoothly or turn out to be a better job, I'm more than glad to give out that information. Also know that a lot of people that listen to the show probably listen with the intent of never even turning a screwdriver or a wrench, but maybe they just listen to the show, I think, just to find out, to have maybe just a little bit less of a helpless feeling about how some of the mechanical things in your house work. The more you know about stuff like that, the better off you are, even if you never intend to turn a wrench or try and work on any of that stuff yourself. I think a lot of people also that live in older homes that were built years ago when we didn't have all of the new technology and things. I think a lot of them listen to the show just to learn about new things that have come down the pike since they built their house, so that things that they might want to incorporate in their own home. And we talk a lot about that kind of thing too. And boy, that changes all the time. Changes quick. New heating and cooling systems and heat pumps and Mitsubishi mini splits, and man, it's mind-boggling the changes that are happening, especially in the heating and air conditioning business. Hey, we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines a little bit early here. I've got something that I wanted to talk about that is definitely appropriate for this rainy weather that we're having here. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines early if you'd like to grab a line. This is the one time in the show when you're guaranteed to get an open line. Often during the show it's difficult as all the lines fill up. But right now you're guaranteed to get a line because all the lines are open. So give us a holler, 576-7798. Well, here's, we've been in drought conditions for the last couple of years in the Kansas City area, and it looks like we're getting back on track to having normal amounts of rainfall and everything. All this snow that we've had late in the season and then followed by quite a bit of rain here. I think the ground is still far from being full back to, I think the water table's still low, but at least we're starting to get some rain, and that's a good thing. It's been too dry. And, I've talked a lot on this show over the years about the difference between a really good backup system for your regular sump pump and the cheapy pumps, which don't do much besides give you a false sense of security. I've talked on that topic a lot, and all that is, of course, important. But today I want to talk a little bit about backup sump pumps from a different perspective. And the question I want to answer today is, do you even need a backup sump pump? Because not everybody does. And let me explain a little bit. First, I'll say that if all you have stored in your basement is a bunch of junk that you probably ought to throw away anyway because it has no real value, then I'm going to say that you don't need a backup sump pump very bad. Probably don't need one at all. If your basement got flooded, in a way, it could be kind of a godsend. You'd be forced to throw away all that junk, which probably you should have thrown away a long time ago anyway. On the other hand, if you have a beautifully finished basement or a lot of valuable electronic gear or computers or valuable papers or family heirlooms and photos in your basement, now we're in a different scenario. This is stuff you don't want to have destroyed by water in a flooding basement. And some of those things are irreplaceable, the family heirlooms and stuff, and you can go out and buy new carpet and sheetrock and stuff like that. But the family heirlooms, you're not gonna be able to replace that at all. Other things just cost a lot of money to replace if they get wet in a flooded basement. So anyway, if you have valuable stuff stored in your basement, do you for sure need a good backup pumping system? No, not necessarily. And let me explain that. Let's say, for example, that you have a beautifully finished basement, or you have lots of valuable stuff stored in your basement. But let's say that in your case, your sump pump pit is number one in an unfinished part of the basement, and number two in a location where, when the sump pump fails to come on, water overflowing the sump pump pit, hey, it's just going to run across the floor over to the basement floor drain and be gone. In other words, there's a nice slope to the floor from the sump pump pit over to the floor drain, and when the sump pit overflows, water's going to run in a stream across the floor to the floor drain, and it's not going to damage any of your valuable things in your basement. And now, if you're in this situation, then even though you have valuable stuff in your basement, or you've got a nicely finished basement, you probably still don't need a backup sump pump very bad, because none of your valuable stuff or the finished part of your basement will ever be water damaged when your sump pump quits. The water's just going to overflow the pit, run over to the floor drain, and be gone. However, in most finished basements, or basements with valuable items stored in the basement, you're not that lucky. And when the sump pump quits pumping, water overflowing the sump pit is not going to run conveniently over to the floor drain and be gone. Instead, the overflowing water starts getting things wet, getting into the carpet, getting things wet that you don't want wet, expensive things, water soaking into the carpet and soaking into the bottom of the sheetrock walls, and now all of a sudden we've got a real mess costing thousands, possibly tens of thousands of dollars to fix. So the answer to the question of whether or not you need a good backup sump pump system depends on what happens to the water that overflows the sump pit. If a lot of damage is going to be done, then you're just flat crazy if you don't have a damn good backup pumping system. And this is something that I know from personal experience. I've seen this too many times. A lot of folks with finished basements and sump pumps don't think about this when they finish their basement. They finish their basement, but they fail to think about what is going to happen when the sump pump quits, or when the power goes out and the pump can't work. Just this last Saturday, I took a call from a man whose sump pump had quit and just trashed his beautifully finished basement. Water was soaked into everything. He just had never thought about what would happen when his sump pump quit, and he found out the hard way, like so many people unfortunately do, when thousands of dollars of damage is done to their beautifully finished basement. In my own business, I see this same scenario over and over and over again, and I'm going to say that half of the backup pumping systems I install, and I install quite a few of them, half of them are sold to somebody who learned the lesson the hard way when their basement got flooded after their sump pump failed, or after they had a power outage during a heavy rain. Of course, you know, during those heavy rains, that's when the power goes out. If you have a sump pump, it is a mechanical device. I don't care how good it is. Sooner or later, every mechanical device will fail, or the power will go out. And when it happens, you're going to be crying if you don't have a darn good backup pumping system. Anyway, like I said, sump pump's a mechanical device. No matter how good the quality of the pump, it's going to fail someday. And anyway, you don't want to have your name added to the list of persons that learned the hard way that they should have installed a really good backup pumping system years ago. Please don't learn this lesson the hard way. I see so many people that learn that lesson and pay a dear price to learn the lesson. Another thing, don't buy a cheapy backup pump either. Yeah, they're a lot cheaper, half price maybe less than that. But who cares how cheap they are if your basement still gets flooded because your cheapy pump isn't capable of doing what you bought it to do? I'm not going to go into a lot of details unless somebody calls in later with more questions, but suffice it to say, in my opinion, there's only one backup pumping system that's worth a damn, and that's the PHCC brand 2400 model. It's got a pumping capacity, which is basically equivalent to the capacity of the pump that you probably have in your basement right now, unlike a lot of pumps that have a really reduced pumping capacity. And if your old pump fails but the power is still on, it has an AC to DC converter, which is big enough to run the backup pump indefinitely. A lot of backup pumps just have trickle chargers that can't run the pump for very long at all. And this PHCC 2400 has a very large capacity deep cycle battery that's capable of running the backup pump for longer than most battery pumps. And most importantly, this is the biggest, its best feature, I think. It has a computerized self-diagnostic system that checks the pump and the battery and the power supply, checks it on a weekly basis so that in the event of a problem with the pump or the battery or the control system, an alarm's going to sound, and you find out about it, and you find out what the problem is before the next heavy rain, not during the next heavy rain when it's too late. Anyway, enough said. If you have any questions, I don't think I gave out the phone number a minute ago when I said call in right now. And what's the phone number? The phone number is 576-7798. Oh, I tell you what, I rushed into the studio today. I just barely made it here on time. I was panting a little bit, if you noticed at the beginning of the show. Anyway, enough said. If you have any questions about this battery backup pumping system, we're definitely back in the spring rain mode. If you have any question about this battery backup pumping system, or why I think it's so wonderful, or the differences between it and other pumps, or about how to tell you if you need a backup pump at all, because not everybody does. Phone lines are now open, so give me a call right now if you have questions, or, of course, if you have any questions about really anything else, call me, or if you have a question about something else mechanical in your home, or if you have a do-it-yourself project you'd like to have a little bit of help with, I'll be glad to talk about that too. Keep in mind, I do the things we talk about on this show every day for a living, and that would include fixing and replacing broken air conditioners and furnaces and heat pumps, and plumbing repairs, as well as complete kitchen and bath remodeling too. So anyway, if I can pass on any information to you that'll help, I'm more than glad to do it. Really, all you got to do is pick up the phone, give me a call right now, 576-7798. That's the number. We got lots open lines still. Would love to have you give us a call. This part of the show that we're getting ready to do right now, where we take your calls, it's the best part of the show, because we're going to talk about the things that are on your mind, the problems you have, the questions you have. But in order for it to happen, you got to pick up the phone right now, 576-7798. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back.
Kohler products offer intrinsic quality born of tradition, skills passed down through generations combined with innovative techniques and timeless design to establish the enduring character for which Kohler is known. There is no substitute for the knowing hand that sculpts the rim of a pedestal lavatory, or the eye that precisely measures the thickness of enamel on red-hot Kohler cast iron as if by instinct. The experience is bold. The experience is art. This experience is the bold look of Kohler. See it all at the showroom of Dick Ray, the Master Plumber.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. 75 years ago, tile showers never leaked because they built them differently then. Today, all that's changed, and tile showers that leak through the ceiling of the room below the shower are commonplace, and fixing those leaks and rebuilding showers to a higher standard has become a huge part of my business. Often these leaky showers just get to looking like hell. Tile falling off the wall and nasty mildewed grout joints. If this sounds like your shower and you want something better, you really should stop by my showroom and see the full-size shower displays. We've got showers made of swanstone and corian and onyx and even real granite. And if my guys install it, it's guaranteed against leaks for 15 years. High-quality showers installed by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. One of my plumbers went on a call recently to look at a toilet which had been backing up in the bathtub for 4 years. Yuck! 2 other plumbers had looked at the problem with no solution. The last one said there was a problem with the pipe under the bathroom floor and that the floor was going to have to be removed to fix it. We're talking thousands of dollars. I suggested that we pull the toilet to run a sewer camera into the line to see and locate the problem before tearing up the floor. Well, when my plumber pulled the toilet after inspecting the tub drain through an access panel, he found a slightly tilted toilet flange causing the funnel on the wax seal to not seat properly and to scoop water directly into the tub drain. My plumber installed a different type of flange seal, and an hour later, the problem was completely cured without even having to run the camera. Moral of the story? Not all plumbers are created equal. Dick Ray, the master plumber, the best that money can buy.
Today's retirees face multiple challenges, including historically low interest rates and less purchasing power. Have you considered what your biggest risk may be? Hi, this is Sean Akmus with the Investment Advisor Hour and Hadel Financial Advisors. Have you ever heard the saying, I have too much month at the end of my paycheck? Well, consider this. I have too much life at the end of my retirement portfolio. With the last decade taking a toll on retirement portfolios, many investors are on track to run out of money in retirement. And the scariest part, they don't know it. Do you know if your portfolio can sustain your current lifestyle, or will you run short in retirement? Folks, don't leave your retirement to chance. Join us every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. on the Investment Advisor Hour with Hadel Financial on KMBZ, or call us today at 913-825-2626.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Woodbury Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC, and registered investment advisor. Hadel Financial Advisors and Woodbury Financial Services, Inc. are not affiliated entities.
And we're back. Listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the master plumber. Hey, I think maybe maybe going into the travel agency business. I had a customer call me. This was Friday night, 8 o'clock or something. She said, "Hey, Dick, I'm not calling about plumbing advice." She says, "What's the name of that place you stayed at in Belize when you went on vacation with your girlfriend back in January?" She says, "It sounds like a nice place. I want to go there." And it was a nice place. No, I don't think I'll go into the travel agency business. I'll stick with the plumbing and the air conditioning. How's that? Hey, you're listening to the Home... Dick Ray, the master plumber. Whoa, what's going on there? You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the master plumber. We still got a couple of open lines, or I guess we'll make that one line. 576-7798. We're going to get on the phone lines here, and we will start with Andrew. Hello, Andrew. What can we do for you?
Hi. I'm calling about an air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
It's placed in a position on the side of my house that is blocking.
It's blocking what? Andrew, are you there? I don't know what happened there. Andrew? Well, I think, we just lost Andrew somehow. Andrew, give us a holler back. We still got a couple of open lines here, so give us a holler back, and we'll find out what you were talking about here. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have better luck with Jason here. Hi, Jason. What can I do for you?
Yes, sir. I'm calling in regards to a backup system for the basement.
Yeah, backup pump.
I purchased one just a week ago at a large box store, and I don't know if it's okay to mention the name of it or not on the program.
Oh, I imagine that's okay.
Well, it's called a basement watchdog system, and it has a primary AC pump and a DC pump that's backup, and they sell a 7.5 amp-hour battery for the DC side, and it's got 2 separate float switches and a monitoring system, and it was pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
You said you only endorse one, and I trust your judgment. Have I made a big mistake in purchasing this readily available pump system?
I'm familiar with what you bought, and that's a pretty good backup pump. I'll tell you, the only thing I don't like about that, I'm not sure exactly what model you bought, but I think you said you bought a system that had 2 pumps in it. It had a regular sump pump that ran off of AC power, and then it had a backup pump that ran off of a 12-volt battery. Am I understanding that right?
That's correct, and it has a little monitoring deal with a water probe for the battery. It seemed like it had all the features that a homeowner would want, but The
Yeah.
concern is that quality ain't going to last.
Yeah.
My basement sump pump runs for several days after even a small rain. So without a pump system, my finished basement is not going to be finished.
I think you're okay. I'm pretty sure I know what you bought, but here is one change that I would make. If you look at that system, what they have done is they've taken two pumps side by side. One is powered by 120 volt power, and the other pump is powered by 12 volt power. And the idea is the 12 volt pump takes over if the backup pump fails. The only thing I don't like about that system is it comes pre-plumbed or pre-piped from the factory so that both pumps go into a common discharge pipe, and I think that is a big mistake. And if one of the check valves fails on the two pumps, then the other pump is not going to be able to remove water even though it's coming on. It's just going to recirculate back through the pit, so I don't like that. But what I really don't like is the fact that you said you get a lot of water when you get a rain. Well, one of these days you may arrive at the scenario where, hey, your main sump pump is working just fine and it's doing all it can, but the water's just coming into the basement at a more rapid rate than it can handle. And so now the backup pump's going to come on, not because of a failure of the main pump or a power outage, but just because the main pump can't keep up. Well, if your backup pump goes into the same discharge pipe as the other pump, it's not going to be able to remove any more water. And so that's why one of the things we always do, unless it's just impossible to do, is put in a second discharge pipe on the backup pump. And that way you can remove 2,000 gallons per hour with your main pump, and if it can't keep up, then the backup pump will remove another couple of thousand gallons per hour. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. It's interesting that you mentioned that as a fault, and that was from a consumer perspective, that was a plus because I already had an existing installation.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was quite the upgrade to be able to put just another check valve in as a union between my existing pipe and my new stand pipe. So I took the easy out instead of running a secondary line, and I was concerned how much it actually goes through an inch and a half.
Yep, you want to run a second line. We always do that. People sometimes say, hey, Dick, they'll be talking to me on this topic, and they'll say, golly, Dick, my other pump is 10 years old or 15 years old, and I'm really worried about it, and I'm wondering if maybe in addition to putting in the backup pump, if maybe I shouldn't also be replacing the main pump because it's 10 years old. And of course, that's not a bad idea. But I mean, the good backup pumps are not inexpensive. And so what I tell people is by all means, replace the main pump if it's 10 or 15 years old. At the same time, you're putting in the backup pumping system. But if money's a little bit tight because of spending all this money on the backup pumping system, well, don't worry so much about the fact that your main pump is 10 or 15 years old, because if it does fail because it's old or worn out, now you've got a backup pump to take over. So you're not at as much risk as you would be if you just had a 10 or 15-year-old pump and no backup system. That makes sense?
Yes, sir. My last pump lasted 6 years, and it went out during this wet spring.
Yeah.
And luckily I was home, and I tended to babysit myself. And with the new system, I was feeling free and clear. But it sounds like I need to
pipe it with a separate discharge pipe. Just
another pipe on there.
Yeah, just take that manifold that they gave you with the pump and throw it in the trash and pipe it with a second discharge pipe. And they're probably going to unplug me if I don't break for the news here. So is that it?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks for the call. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. We're going to break for the news. We got open lines. Would love to have you give us a holler. 576-7798. We'll be right back after the news.
This is Kansas City's news, traffic, and weather station. This is KMBZ, Kansas City.
11:31 in Kansas City from the KMBZ newsroom. I'm Andrew Yates. There's still no apparent end in sight to the increasing death toll from the garment factory building collapse in Bangladesh. Officials today raised the number of dead to 580, even as workers continue to clear away rubble. The disaster is likely the worst garment factory accident ever. An intelligence official in the Middle East confirms that Israel launched another airstrike into Syria today, targeting a shipment of extremely accurate Iranian-made guided missiles believed to be on their way to Lebanon's Hezbollah militant group. The attack on the Syrian capital is the second in 3 days. Israel also shifted 2 anti-missile batteries to the country's north. Syria says Israel's aim is to, quote, give direct military support to terrorist groups. Now your forecast from staff meteorologist Sally Russell.
Definitely not the prettiest of days, with clouds, a little fog, and even some light rainfall to start our afternoon, but the clouds are going to stick around for the remainder of the day as well, a high in the low 60s. Slight chance of an early evening shower. Otherwise, the clouds will start to break up towards sunrise, upper 40s. A beautiful Monday, lots of sunshine, upper 60s. A smidgen warmer for Tuesday, sunshine, low 70s. And then our next disturbance arriving for Wednesday, increasing the chance of showers and storms. I'm staff meteorologist Sally Russell, KMBZ Weather.
Right now it's 49 degrees at KCI, 51 degrees in downtown Kansas City, and 50 degrees at your official weather station. I'm Andrew Yates. Stay connected with 98.1 FM KMBZ and KMBZ.com.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. If you're like a lot of people and just hate your toilet because it gets plugged so frequently, and if you're at the point where you're saying, I'm sick of this, I want the best flushing toilet known to mankind, then you want a Gerber Ultra Flush toilet. It still only uses 1.6 gallons of water per flush, but that 1.6 gallons of water is stored in the toilet tank under pressure, and when it's released, you've never seen a flush that powerful in anybody's home. It's really dramatic. Often people will put things down toilets and public restrooms that they wouldn't in their own homes, like rags or handy wipes or tampons. Or maybe you have a family member with large, firm stools. Whatever the reason, if you really want the most powerful flush available, you want a Gerber Ultra Flush toilet. You can see the flush in the live models in my showroom, too. Gerber Power Flush toilets installed by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy. This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. As you get older, you can put off a move to assisted living by making some changes to your home and bathroom. In my large Kohler registered plumbing fixture showroom, I've devoted an entire section to products you may need in your bathroom to avoid having to move to an assisted living facility. I got a jacuzzi brand whirlpool tub with a door in the side, a wheelchair accessible shower, got showers with seats and hand sprays and grab bars, showers to go where your old bathtub was. We've got taller comfort height toilets, a bidet conversion toilet seats, and all this stuff and more is on display in my showroom. Not to mention good advice from people who've been doing this kind of work for years and are good at it. Kohler fixtures and faucets installed by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy. This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. The biggest problem with repairing a broken sewer is figuring out exactly what the problem with the troublesome sewer is, and then, more importantly, pinpointing the exact location of the problem so that it can be either dug up under the basement floor or outside the house in the yard. Knowing what the problem is and where to dig is crucial to minimize costs and to minimize the amount of digging needed. We bought a sewer inspection camera years ago so that we can run it through your problem sewer to see where the problem is and to pinpoint exactly where to dig to minimize costs when we come back with our jackhammer to dig under your basement floor or come back with our backhoe to dig up your sewer outside. We do a lot of this kind of work, and we're good at it. Sewer Repairs by Dick Ray, the Master Plumber, the best that money can buy.
This is KMBZ.
This is Dick Ray, the Master Plumber at Shawnee Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. You know, people have told me for years that they feel I'm wasting my education by being a plumber. I studied at K-State, where I was in the Mechanical Engineering Honors Program and graduated cum laude with a degree in mechanical engineering. And after graduating, I completed all of the coursework for a master's degree in mechanical engineering. Yes, that's why some people might think I'm just an overeducated plumber wasting my education. But you know, I don't feel that way at all, and I never have. What I think I am is a guy who's in business, who has a lot better understanding of the physical and mechanical principles involved in the plumbing and air conditioning business than my competitors do. Lets me be a lot better at what I do than the competition. What do you think? Dick Ray, the master plumber, the best that money can buy.
Opinions expressed on the following paid commercial program are those of the host and guests and do not represent the opinion of KMBZ or Entercom Kansas City.
And we're back. The weather could be worse. A little cloudy out there, a little cool, but it's on the upswing. Going to be up in the 70s next week. I'll be out there working on air conditioners, hot and heavy, which is what I ought to be doing this time of year anyway. And anyway, hey, we got open lines. I tell you what, if I seem a little disorganized today, I just barely made it in here on time. I tell you, I walked in, had a talk with my producer, and ran in, plugged in my headphones, grabbed the mic, and pushed the button like a split second before time was up. Anyway, we've got open lines. Love to have you give us a holler, 576-7798. We lost a couple of calls there, I think. Don't know what happened there. But anyway, we got open lines, 576-7798. And let's talk to Tom here. Hi, Tom. What can I do for you?
Hi, good afternoon. Well, I finished a basement here a few years ago, and it's doing just fine.
Good.
But nobody was staying down there other than granddaughters once in a while. But my niece is staying down there now, and I noticed the exhaust fan I put in is kind of noisy.
Yeah, the bathroom exhaust fan, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, out of the bathroom, yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if there's something I can do to quiet it down, or if it's a
It's the fan. It's the fan, and that's one of the neat things they've done with fans in, I say recent years, probably 10 years now. You can buy a bathroom exhaust fan. The cheap ones are probably $19, and the good ones are, I don't know, a couple $100. But one of the things you get two things when you pay more for an exhaust fan. One is you get higher CFM capacity, which can be important. But the other thing that you get that is really, really nice is you get an exhaust fan that's quiet, that you can't hear. Now, there's a noise rating on exhaust fans, and it's SONES, S-O-N-E-S, and I don't know how many SONES a good one is compared to a bad one, but boy, there's a big difference. We had one in our men's room in our showroom, and boy, you turned that thing on, it sounded like a jet plane was taking off. And probably 5 years ago, we got rid of it and put in one of the new really ultra quiet ones, and the difference is like between day and night. It's not a big deal to change the fan. You're going to want to take the cover plate off of the old one, measure the dimensions of the opening so that you know what size the old fan was, so that when you buy a new one, you'll buy one that physically is approximately the same size and will hook up approximately the same. But that's the way you're going to quiet it down, is just get a brand new fan and get a good one.
Well, thank you. I'm known for having moths fly out of my wallet, so I don't always buy the most expensive.
You would be both. Well, I mean, it's wise. A penny saved is a penny earned. Ben Franklin said that, I think. I mean, it's foolish to spend money unnecessarily, and I don't know. But on the other hand, there are some times when, you want to spend a little bit extra money, and you'll be glad.
Well, I try to be frugal, but I never, like I said, I didn't realize how much noise they make. So.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, appreciate your help. I guess they're sold at most of the big box stores, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you can buy them at most of the big box stores. But pay attention to the SONE rating on it. That's what's important. That's what you'll want.
All right.
And the CFM rating, too. The cheapy bathroom exhaust fans are, they're 80 CFM and they're noisy, and the better fans are, over 100 CFM and a lot better SONE rating.
Okay. All right. Thanks for your help.
You bet. Appreciate the call, Tom. That opens the line if you'd like to join us. We got a couple open lines, actually, 576-7798. And let's talk to Chuck here. Hi, Chuck. What can I do for you?
Hi, Mr. Ray. I've got a question about septic. I've got a new home that works with a septic system and also an underground well for the water.
Yeah.
And what preventative or regular maintenance things that I would do as a homeowner, and the things that I would bring someone like yourself in to do.
Well, I'll tell you, I live out in the country, so I am on a septic tank and a septic system also. And I'll tell you, the septic systems, there's not a whole lot of maintenance required. There's really just one thing. And if you do this one thing and do it regularly, then you'll save yourself thousands of dollars. But if you don't do it, then one of these days the plumber's going to be coming to you and saying, hey, you need to give me $10,000 for a new lateral field.
Wow.
And it's what you need to do is really simple. I don't know if you know how a septic system works, but basically all of the waste comes out of your house, and some of that waste is liquid and some of it is solid, and all of that waste flows into the septic tank, and the septic tank's job is to separate the solids from the liquids. The solids are retained by the tank, and the liquids flow out of the tank and they go into a lateral field, or there's a number of different ways to get rid of the liquids in the tank, but basically the liquids usually go out into a lateral field, and the liquids, three things happens to them. One, they soak into the ground. Number two, some of the liquids evaporate up through the surface of the ground. And number three, the roots of the grass absorb some of the liquid in the lateral field, which is why the grass is always green over the lateral field. Now, the solids stay in the tank, and that's where they're supposed to stay. And the solids build up deeper and deeper and deeper. And what you want to do is get a septic tank pumper out there to pump the solids out of the tank before the solids get to the point that they start flowing out into the lateral field. Because when solids start flowing out into the lateral field, then the solids plug the pores in the earth, and the earth can no longer absorb moisture, and now you're looking at $10,000 for a new lateral field. So pumping your septic tank is cheap maintenance, and next thing you're going to ask me is how often should I do it? And I'm going to say that on the average, if you have a system that was, and now me, I live in a house. It's a large house, but I live there by myself, so there's not much load on the septic system.
Right.
Yeah, depends on how many people are living in the house, how many times the toilet's flushed every day. But an average family of, four or five people living in a house with a properly sized septic tank, you can probably get by 3 years pretty easy without having solids start flowing out into the tank. So what you do is when the house is new, you go 3 years, then you get somebody like Mel Zimmerman at Honeywagon out to pump your tank out, and you be there the day that he pumps it out. And you go down there and say, hey, Mel, how was the tank? Was it chock full of solids and almost ready to flow out in the lateral field, or was it just about half full, or what was it? And if Mel says, well, tank was only about half full, then next time, instead of going 3 years, maybe you can go 5 years.
Is there a way to check it intermittently, or is that it's a buried tank?
It's a buried tank. I mean, in Miami County, they require manhole lids on the tanks that are flush with the surface of the ground. So I can, I can take the lid off my tank. You can dig up the lid to a septic tank, worst possible case. But the bottom line is, I don't know how you're going to tell when the tank's full of solids without just pumping it out.
Okay.
Does that help?
Oh, absolutely. I just want to. I mean, some of those things are so simple. I would in the past.
Yeah, the septic systems are pretty straightforward and trouble-free. Is the most important thing is make sure and pump the solids.
It's all foreign to me, but it was very helpful.
Well, if you have any questions about it in the future, give me a holler and I'll try and help you. But it's not a terribly complicated thing ordinarily.
Thank you.
Okie doke.
All righty.
Appreciate the call. All right, that opens the line. We actually have 2 open lines and would love to talk to you. All you got to do is pick up the phone right now. Guaranteed to get an open line. Looks like one of the lines is ringing, but we still got one more. And our number, 576-7798. You know, people have told me for years that it's often difficult to get an open line during this show, and that's why one of the things I do during every show is to give you an invitation. I'm getting ready to give it to you again, and this is a very sincere invitation for you to call me anytime during the week, not just during this show. I mean, this show's only on 1 hour a week, and some things sometimes it's difficult to get into the show on the phone lines because they're busy, and there's just a lot of things that aren't going to wait that long. You need quick help a lot quicker than that. Anyway, if you need a little free advice on a project you're working on, don't hesitate to call me. You don't have to wait for the show, and you don't need to feel like you're imposing on me either. Everybody feels like they're imposing on me when they call me, but don't feel that way. You can call me after 5 o'clock at night. You can call me on Saturday. You can call me on Sunday. You can call me right after the show, and I really don't mind. I'm serious about that. Nobody believes me. They say, who would want to take calls on a Sunday afternoon? But I don't look at it that way. I'm in the service business. You know, that's what I do for a living. If I think that I'm too good to talk to people on the phone, I've lost understanding of what I do for a living. Anyway, in all honesty, a lot of the calls that I do get, they're from somebody that wants me to come out and do the work for them. They either don't have the time or just don't want to mess around with it or don't want to give up their free time. And so they'll call me and say, hey, Dick, I want you to come out and take care of this for me. And, of course, I love that because that's how I make my living. But I'm being completely sincere when I say that I absolutely do not mind you calling, even if all you want is a little free advice on some do-it-yourself project that you're working on yourself. And I'm very easy to get in touch with because my normal business phone rings straight to my cell phone after normal business hours. So really all you have to do is remember one number, which is my regular business phone. Going to give it to you here so you can jot it down for future reference. The number is 913-888-0550. I am very sincere in this offer. I learned a number of years ago that what goes around comes around, and what that boils down to is you help people out, it's always going to come back to you one way or another, and I learned that a long time ago. So don't feel like you're taking advantage of me. I don't look at it that way. So you call me anytime you want to. Give out a lot of free advice and information to a lot of people. Do it on a daily basis, and I do it willingly. So don't hesitate to call me. Once again, the number is 913-888-0550. And with that, I'm going to shut up because all the lines are lit up here. Let's see. We got Sue on the line. Hi, Sue. What can I do for you?
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
We have a bathroom faucet that we need to replace.
Okay.
But from the shutoff valve up to the faucet itself it's like solid copper tubing, and we would like to replace that with a braided line. Will it be hard to get that copper tubing out?
It won't be hard to get the copper tubing out, but my advice is, and I learned this mainly from listening to my plumbers who are out working, I don't work all that much. I've done a lot of plumbing in the past years, but nowadays I spend most of my time in the office. But my guys tell me that those braided stainless steel supply tubes, they sound like a good deal because they're stronger, they're reinforced with stainless steel braid. But the problem is they have these little seeping, pain in the behind kind of leaks at the end of the supply tubes. And so my advice is don't use that. What we use when we're installing a faucet are these poly supply tubes with a cone on the end of them, and ordinarily I steer you away from stuff that is inexpensive. The poly supply tubes aren't expensive. I don't know what they are, $2 or $3 a piece, I suppose, and the braided stainless steel is probably $10 or $15 a piece. But this is a case where I honestly believe that the poly tubes are better. I really do.
Do you think it will be hard to get these copper tubes out?
No. You know, every number one, if you got a copper tube, there's really no reason that you can't reuse it. The copper is a little more difficult to deal with than the poly is because copper, it's not quite as flexible and a little bit harder to bend without kinking maybe. But if you look down at the bottom of the copper tube, it's going to be attached to a shutoff valve or an adapter fitting with a compression nut. And you shut off the water, you undo that compression nut, and you put the poly supply tube on there with reuse a compression nut. And no, it's not difficult at all.
Okay. Well, just one more quick question. Do you know if, like, we can't see up at the top where it's hooked onto the faucet?
Yeah.
So would that be welded up there?
No, it won't be welded. Yeah, it's going to probably, the end of the copper tube is going to have a cone on the end of it, and that cone is held into the body of the faucet by a brass nut. You do that job kind of by feel. You can lay on your back and look up behind the kitchen sink there and see what you're doing. We plumbers generally do it more by feel than anything else because we've done so many of them. They make a special tool called a Basin Wrench, and the Basin Wrench is designed to reach up there in that difficult-to-get-to spot and loosen that nut. And you can buy a Basin Wrench at any hardware store for probably $5 or $10, and it would be a good investment.
Okay,
because $5 or $10 is cheaper than hiring a plumber.
Well, and you say that we can go ahead and reuse the copper lines?
Yeah.
Okay, super.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate your help, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.
Oh, I will. I'm sure I will.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Sue. That opens the line, 576-7798. One of the things I was going to mention today, going on right now in Lewisburg, I mean, it's not ideal weather, but it's not going to rain, but Lewisburg, Kansas, this little podunk town that I live in, which is about 25 miles south of Overland Park on 69 Highway. They have a kick-butt car show every year, and they are having it. Today's the day, Cinco de Mayo, and it's put on by the Lions Club. It doesn't cost anything to go down there and walk around and look at a lot of neat cars. If you want to enter your car, I think it probably costs $10 or something, but it's a neat deal, and it's a nice small-town atmosphere and people just milling around Broadway down there. So anyway, that's where I'm going after the show here. It's a lot of fun. If you don't have plans for today, not supposed to rain, and you can see how ugly I am in person if you go down there, because I'll be there. I'll be the guy in the old 79 Lincoln. How's that? Let's see here. We got Bob on the line. Hi, Bob. What can I do for you?
Hey, Dick, I remember listening to your dad talk with Murphy a long time ago.
Yeah, good old Mike Murphy.
Yeah, those were the days. He used to laugh a lot. I got a 55-ish ranch in Roland Park in a ring with ceramic bathroom surrounds. Everything was custom built.
Yeah.
You can't get the tile anymore.
Yep.
Of course, one bathroom sink is built in a handmade cabinet with tile all over it.
Oh.
Sink's cracked.
Yeah.
I think I can take it out with reciprocating. So,
take the sink out? That's going to be a cast iron sink.
Well, the question, I think it's porcelain.
Oh, it might be enameled steel or
what?
I mean, what are you going to do after you get it out? I mean,
well, I was looking at the Kohler catalog, and I think there's some surface mount sinks.
Really?
That would fit.
If you can find one that would fit that, you're the luckiest guy on the face of the earth. You must go to church every Sunday and never miss, and be a great guy, because that's a one in a million shot if you're that lucky.
I didn't know if you'd had any experience replacing those. I'm just, because I'm a cheap old fella, I do not want to have to replace the entire cabinet.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to replace the entire cabinet, but 99% of the time, what we do is number one, that sink, as you know, is underneath the tile, and so if you're going to remove the whole sink without cutting it out with a reciprocating saw, you'd have to take all the tile out.
At least take a band of the tile, the edge tile around the sink.
Well, we don't do that. We take the whole tile top out, and there'll be concrete underneath that and piece of plywood, and then you're down to where what's left is the cabinet. Well, you don't have to get rid of the cabinet, and you can take that cabinet, and now that it's exposed, you can get a measurement, get a new a new vanity top made, one of the new ones, that's made
put
out
put
of.
an onyx top on it.
Yeah, an onyx top or corian or swanstone, something like that. Now you may have to shim the top up a little bit because of the thickness of the tile and what was there before. But it's not a difficult job. And boy, I mean, it's what you're looking at, what you described doing, cutting that out with the reciprocating saw. That's going to be a lot of work and probably will involve a lot of cursing too.
I'm good at that part as opposed to the cursing part.
Okay.
I can do that. All right, so you've had better luck with just putting another top on it.
Yeah, it will be so much easier. When you get done with that job, you're going to say, "Boy, I'm glad I listened to Dick."
That's why I called.
Okay.
Thanks, Dick.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
All right.
Okay, let's see here. We got Keith on the line. Hi, Keith. What can we do for you?
Well, I had a question. Since you were talking about septic tanks, I found out I got a clean out trap thing on the front side of my house and my septic tank.
Yep.
Of course, everything flows out the back side of the house toward the tank. But I also found
now the tank's in the backyard, but there's a clean out in the front yard.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, but it's
not just odd.
The clean out's at the front part of the septic line. So it actually runs from there through the house and out toward the tank.
Oh, the clean out is in the basement in the front part of the house.
Right.
And then the line crosses the basement ceiling and goes out the back. Okay, I understand.
Right, yeah. It's actually, it's in the front yard right in by the house.
Oh, so the clean out is outside. When you run a line in that clean out, the cutter would go through the pipe in the basement ceiling and then out the back of the house.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a neat way to do it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
The problem is one of my gutter pipes drains into that clean-out valve.
Oh, I'd like to meet the guy that did that.
Yeah, me too.
God.
So now when it rains off my porch and everything, it drains right into that line and flows right through my house and right into my septic tank.
And oversaturates your lateral field. You have got to get that gutter out of there. I mean, groundwater going into a sewer system, whether it's a city sewer or septic system, that is a no-no. That water, all that rainwater is going to saturate the earth. I mean, septic systems have enough trouble during heavy rain periods just from the water falling on the ground. And shoot, your downspouts going into that. Oh, that's
just
terrible.
One off the porch, so it's not a lot of water, but it gathers a little bit off the roof and then goes to the porch roof and then down into that downspout.
Yeah, you got to find something else to do with that downspout water. It should just drain on the ground and drain to some place where the water's going to run away from the house.
Well, I can do that because I can go out toward the front of the house. I can actually bury it and then come out the daylight.
Okay, that's good. Hey, I'm out of time here. I got like 2 seconds.
Thanks.
All righty. Thanks for calling. Hey, hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going down to the Lewisburg Car Show. We'll be back next Sunday, 11 o'clock. You're listening to the Home Improvement Hour with Dick Ray, the Master Plumber. Again, if you have any questions, don't forget that number, 913-888-0550. See you at the car show.
This is Kansas City's news, traffic, and weather station. This is KMBZ. AM, FM, HD1.
12 o'clock in Kansas City from the KMBZ newsroom. I'm Andrew Yates. A Kansas City woman was killed late last night after she fell from a bus during a Bachelorette Party. The Kansas Highway Patrol tells Channel 9 and KMBZ 26-year-old Jamie Frex was one of 17 women riding in a party bus on Interstate 35 near Southwest Boulevard around 10 o'clock last night when she fell out of an emergency door. After being hit by at least 3 vehicles, she died of